All right, so we are on target 2D, and this is day one. We're going to be doing types of angles in this section. So your objectives are, you will be able to identify types of angles, and you will be able to determine an angle's measure based on the type of angle. All right, so when two lines intersect, they make vertical angles. Something to keep in mind when a line intersects, so that means we're going to say that it actually goes through to make the intersection. So this is two lines intersecting. This is not two lines intersecting. So if you see something like this, that's not. All you would have to do is take it through just a little bit, like that. Now it would be two lines intersecting. So just be aware of that. Okay, vertical angles are angles that are opposite to one another, and they are always congruent. So again, when you have two lines that intersect, it's the angles that would be opposite, like these two here, and obviously these two here. So you've got the two that are 75 and the two that are 105. Okay, vertical angles are congruent, so that's important. So you should probably write that down somewhere. Vertical angles are congruent. All right. Here's another example. We've got 150, 150, 30, and 30, your vertical angle. So 30 and 30 would be congruent. 150 and 150 are congruent. In other words, they're equal. They have the same measure. Now, supplementary angles always add up to 180 degrees. So, like here you have 120 on this side. So even if I didn't know that this was 60, I would be able to find this out because supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees, which is the same as a straight line. All right. So if I call that x, I could say, well, there's 180 degrees equals x plus 120. And then you just subtract the 120, and you'd be able to determine that this angle was 60, like it's obviously shown right there, and vice versa. Complementary angles add up to 90, so same kind of thing. So even if I had, and remember 90 degrees is also a right angle. So even if, say, this was some weird number like 77 degrees here, and I needed to know what that is, but I saw this right angle marker here, I could say, well, 90, because and I knew that they were complementary. 90 minus 77 equals 23 degrees, which would be the angle measure right there. Okay, other types of angles that are good to know. So corresponding angles, meaning that when you have parallel lines, these angles are going to be in the same place of the parallel lines. So we've got this line right here going across two lines that are parallel. So these are in corresponding spots. Okay, so that forms an angle that looks like that. These are corresponding. They're both on the right side of this line, and they're both above their respective lines. These are corresponding because they're both to the right side and below their respective lines. And these are corresponding because they're both to the left side and below their corresponding lines. Alternate interiors, so that means they're in between the two lines. Okay, these two parallel lines here, they're in between those lines, and they're on opposite sides of the line that cuts through them. Okay, so these are alternate interior, these are alternate interior. So remember, they're going to be on different sides of the single line, but in between the double lines. We also have alternate exterior, same principle, except they're on either side of that single line, but on the outside of the double lines. Okay, see, this is the outside, that's to the outside. And then we have same side interiors. So the same side tells us that it's on the same side of this single line here, and the interior part tells us they're in between the double lines. So interior, in between the lines. Exterior, outside the double lines. Alternate means on opposite sides of that single line. Same side means on the same side of that single line. So let's put this all together. Using the diagram to the right, what is a pair of vertical angles? So you need to be careful here, okay, because the only lines that form anything that could be considered that is this one and this one, because this line here doesn't go through. So there's no vertical angles there. So the only vertical angles in this would be right here and right here, because remember, it's in between the two lines. If I put 4 and 3 together, then yes, they would be the same as this. But since they're not together, the only pair of vertical angles are 5 and 2. All right, so same diagram. Now we need a pair of complementary angles. So remember, complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. So we find the line that makes 90 degrees. That's right here, and the other one is down here. All right, but there's not two angles in that 90 degree mark. So we have an angle 5 and an angle 4 right there and there. Those two angles make up a 90 degree angle, so those are complementary. Also, because angle 5 and angle 2 have the same measure, okay, and they're vertical angles, you also could say, if you really wanted to impress me, that angle 4 and angle 2 are complementary because those add up to 90. Because if 4 and 5 add up to 90 and 5 and 2 are the same thing, well, then 4 and 2 add up to 90 as well. And last example, so we've got an airport runway, shows two parallel runways. So I will show you which ones are parallel, meaning they'll never intersect. That would be this one and this one. Okay, so there's our double lines that I told you about, and here's a single line that goes through them. So we're looking at, basically there. That taxi crosses both runways, so we want to describe the relationship between 5 and 1. All right, so look, so if this is the single line here, right there, are they on the same side of the single line? Yes. All right. Are they both on the interior? No. Are they both on the exterior? No. So that means that they can only be corresponding angles, because if you look, it's the same type of angle formed by both, just from being, so they're on the same side of that single line, we call it transversal, and on the same side of the double line. So same side of the single line and same side of the double line means that they are corresponding angles. All right, so this is a really, really good section where if you want to study the angle types and really get to know them, just make some note cards. That's my suggestion. But that's it. Sorry for the longer video. We had a lot of information to go through, though.